So it's recently come to my attention that I should be doing a little bit of a clarification on my AI rant that I went on the other day. A friend of mine, very good friend, reached out to me and said, hey, I downloaded Suno and I was able to create something that I'd never been able to create before. And here's this song. Like, I've been wanting to write songs for a long time. I write lyrics, all that stuff. And he mentioned to me, he tried to meet me halfway and understood some of the things I was talking about, and that the things I was concerned about. But then the more and more we talked, the more it kind of clarified to me how I actually think about Suno and AI when it comes to music. The inherent issue that I have with it, I don't want to be old man Humphrey complaining about the new technology and that it wasn't the way that it was when I was a kid and blah, 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 blah. Nobody likes that person. Nobody wants to be that person, I don't think. But in this case, when we have a new technology, we really have to think about where we stand with it. The problem that I have is that these CEOs and that the people that are leading this AI revolution and what some people would call the AI bubble, which could burst, is that they're not giving credit where credit is due. All of these places, whether it be Google, Gemini, whether it be Suno, whether it be Spotify coming up, whether it be OpenAI, Claude, all these places, they're not really upfront with what they're training on. We think of AI as just training off of everything that's on the internet. But when you think about it, it's like, there's intellectual property there. There's stuff that someone painstakingly took time to work on, put it out there for the sole purpose of being heard by others and having their art out there in the world, whether it's just for that purpose or whether it's for something bigger than that. It doesn't matter. I can only speak for myself, but I didn't put my artwork out there to have some other person use elements of it without my knowledge. That's where I draw the line. You hear a ton now about artists selling their catalogs for millions of dollars. And is this the case? Because it's good business for big record labels, because that way they just give permission or they make a deal with the AI companies to train off of all this music, all this stuff. So it makes it available to anyone that uses these platforms or that pays for these platforms. You pay a subscription, you go in, you get to remix, don't stop till you get enough, or you get to put yourself into, a Bee Gees song. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? There's a line there, because the credit isn't being given. If I went on to Suno and I said, hey, I think the example I used before was I want a pedal steel part and I want it to sound like so-and-so. I want it to sound like this song with this vibe. It's pulling from those resources and it's pulling from those players that were on it. It doesn't say once you get that stem back or once you get that recording back, it doesn't say this came from a combination of such and such, so-and-so, and so-and-so. So it's very interesting. And I heard these songs that I got from my buddy. He sent them to me and they're really cool. It's like he wouldn't have been able to create that thing. And he told me he created, I think, like 90% of the lyrics. Maybe the AI added some connective tissue there to make things make sense. It's a pop song. It has verse, chorus, bridge, down verse, down chorus, and then a chorus out or whatever. It's very obvious what it's doing. It's not doing anything terribly interesting. And I'm sorry if you're listening, but it's good. It's like it put together a cohesive song that people can sing that gets the idea across. And that's great. A real use case for someone that doesn't have the time or doesn't have the musical ability to put something out there like that. And I made the suggestion to them that, hey, you have this tune and it's cool. And like, you wrote the lyrics. I don't know if he wrote the melody. And that's the thing. Like, songwriting is lyrics and melody. And I've contributed on many songs that I haven't gotten credit for because I didn't contribute to either the lyrics or the melody. And I have contributed to melodies. Let's just say that. But what it is, it's a thing in the songwriting world. Something the drummer says in the back tends to like get repurposed and then brought back later as if it was someone else's idea. It happens all the time. But I just wanted to clarify that because I'm not against non-musicians being creative. I think that is very much what I'm for. I think people should find ways to be creative if they want to. If you've written poetry for your whole life but never learned how to play an instrument, and you really, really want to put these lyrics into a song and put it out there, first of all, it's so admirable because so many songwriters, including myself, have such a hard time putting things out there. And we know how to play instruments. We know how to produce and do production and all that stuff. Where we fall flat is that we take this one idea and then maybe our brain doesn't develop the whole idea, or we bring it to some other people and then they put their little thing into it and it's not really jiving with what you want. So there's challenges when it comes to all this. The AI, in this case, gave this person the tool to put it out there, to get that idea and those lyrics out there. And I bet it spit it out, and I bet it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is amazing. And and to an extent, it absolutely is. So not to be Debbie Downer, I was very complainy on my last podcast, and you know, nobody wants to be like that because obviously people hear it and they get upset and then they don't think of a solution to the thing. So where I stand is AI companies need to be open about where they are training their models to be able to pull this music and these melodies and sounds that other people create, very distinct sounds, and give those people credit for it. And if AI songs are going to be put on Spotify, then we also have to talk about streaming, like who's getting this money. So if people are getting credit for it, then those people should have a share of the profits of whatever that song makes. It's not just who puts the prompts in, guys. It's what the model trains on. There's a lot more to it than that. I would love to have my buddy Nick back on the podcast. There's probably like NDAs. He probably can't talk about a lot of this stuff, but you know, he's in that world. I think it's very interesting. And I think that there is a problem when it comes to trusting these companies. And there's a lot of good to be had there. There's a lot of good. I mean, obviously, this is going to happen. AI isn't going to go away. I mean, there's so many incredible use cases for it, but there's also a lot of nefarious stuff going on, a lot of nefarious use cases for it. So we have to be able to discern and find out, where are our morals? Where do we stand? What kind of future do we want? Do we want 6 people to have control over everything? No. I mean, the answer is no. I mean, it's plain as day to me. If there's another argument to that, let me know. I'll just be in my garage here making stuff out of wood. The last thing I want to talk about is my newsletter this past week. If you're not signed up for that, it's afterthegig.substack.com afterthegig.substack.com. And you can get that every week. But what I talked about this past week was the war in Iran and how that may affect songwriters and artists that are touring around the country going forward. And you see things like things going up as far as price and what artists pay for when they're on the road. And obviously that's fuel. And you also have to think about what the consumer is going through. So if a lot of your people coming to your concerts are highbrow tech people, those people might get laid off. Those people might not have jobs anymore by the time the fall rolls around. That's scary to think about. We don't want that. But the big thing is fuel costs. So we see that 20% of the world's oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz. And obviously all that bullshit's going on right now. I don't see really any incentive for anyone to give us anything or help us out at all. So you have to think, how long is this going to last? And for artists, what kind of hit are you going to take this year as far as your income is concerned? Because everyone says, oh, all these artists, they make all their money with touring and with merchandise. What happens when the touring slows down, or maybe in some cases goes away? I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that if diesel fuel gets up to $10 a gallon or whatever, like, it's pretty out of the realm of possibility for a lot of people. Tour buses cost a lot of money. I think it's like $1,500 a day or something like that now. It's been a long time since I've rented a tour bus. I've never rented one, but that's what I hear through the grapevine. Look it up. That's crazy money. So a group that's obviously huge. I'll use Oasis as an example because I saw their show in Chicago last summer. They had, I think, 11 tour buses at their concert, and everyone uses Taylor Swift as an example. I'll do that too. Huge production. Tour buses, like tons of tour buses. 18-wheeler trucks, all that expense goes up. And that ticket's already high. They're already making a shitload of money. So what do? You just squeeze the margin down. Everyone's still happy. Everyone makes what they make. Profit margin is goes way down. Or do you scale down production, scale down some of those costs, and rebrand as like a smaller, more intimate thing? Keep those margins kind of where they're at, pay less people, maybe do that. You could really bolster your online sales. You could go back to doing some live streaming, which I suggested in the newsletter. I don't think that's a bad idea. And I think that there's a lot of creative ways to do it these days. A lot of these streaming companies, there were so many companies that came along during COVID. What these companies would do is they would create a website, a platform where you could host your stream. And some people would just go the YouTube route, the free route, but other people wanted to sell. It was obvious, like, oh, we can't sell tickets to shows, so we got to sell tickets to the live streams. And I think that if that happens, or if bands start to do that again, I don't think that we should give these platforms any of our money. I honestly think that the fans do the right thing the majority of the time. They want to support. They want to see the music. They want to be a part of what you're doing. So I recommend that if anyone does live streaming, they just go on YouTube, do a free live stream, put a QR code to your tipping on the screen. That way they can just scan it with their phones, or they can click a link and they can give whatever they want. You're going to find generous people. People are going to buy merch. You need to make merch available for those things. Making DIY videos is another big part of that. Bolstering your YouTube, bolstering the things that get you out into the world, maybe being creative with it, some personality, play in interesting places. People already do this already, but when you have a band, or when you have bands that are just say, hey, we booked this show, we're going to play this show, we go out there, we do our thing, la-di-da-di-da, we go home, and then we're not really focusing on anything until the next show. And by the time you do, maybe it's a little too late, you're squeezing things together. Everybody is doing it like this. Everybody. I beg you, artists out there, start filming all that B-roll. Have your band do some interesting performances. Get good with a camera. You're going to need to do it. I just hope to God that people don't polarize musicians or look down at them for expressing their views during these times again, because that's what happens. We get put into these positions. We say our opinions, and then someone inherently says, it's like clockwork. They say, stick to music. Well, buddy, you stick to computer programming. We're all here. We all have an opinion. And I think lots of times that the artists have the better ones. They see the world through an interesting lens. They travel around the country. They see people in those different environments. They're not in bubbles. They have a good opinion. So maybe don't just stick to music. Maybe read something or educate yourself, or think about having a little bit of empathy for people in that other position, because music is a place where we're all supposed to get together and find common ground. And then maybe think about the other person's opinions, and maybe try to see it through their point of view. That's what it's all about. Get out of the fucking bubbles. Get out of it. It's nothing but terrible. Just get out of the bubbles. Real life, the real world. We need to get back to it. And I hope to see you at a show. Goodbye.